So,
Okay.
hey, we got a lot of controversy and all this BS going on from people who are speaking about allegations, rumors, and all around conspiracy theories. Where actually we have the actual lawyer of Von and Durk. Is that accurate?
We represented Dirk. We helped out with Vaughn just a little bit, but we represented Dirk here in Atlanta when the shooting allegations took place outside the Varsity in downtown Atlanta.
The lawyer that they had on file was Drew Finley, correct, for Von?
Yes, that's the billion-dollar lawyer. I think that's his nickname that everybody knows him by.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge supporter, huge. I don't want to say fan yet. I'm not fanned out yet. We'll see how that goes. But there's there's a couple of things that people don't understand. What was Von? What was Dirk originally charged with?
He was charged with gang activity, several counts of shooting and others since it was a public shooting, aggravated assault, things of that nature. So it's pretty serious stuff.
Okay, and I had a video, and I don't know if you can expound on this. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. I had a video essentially of the varsity shooting with the officer essentially walking up with his body cam on, and it's real clear, crystal clear footage. Can you clear up anything as far as there's this rumor, and I haven't seen it, where they allege there were two people outside of the car shooting.
Well, those are all a bunch of allegations in the beginning, but there's video surveillance from a nightclub that was across the street from the Varsity. The Varsity is a huge restaurant here in Atlanta, a big tourist area next to Georgia Tech. And so the allegation from the government was, oh, we've got all this stuff on video from the surveillance and the traffic cams. None of that was true when we were asking for bond. Even the judge kind of called BS on it and said, well, if the video's there, just show me the 4 or 5 seconds, and they wouldn't do it. Then they said, well, we'll have this thing indicted within a week. Thankfully, the judge, you know, had better sense, gave us bond. And then two some odd years later, the state ended up dismissing it based on the challenges that we've raised.
So basically, and I'll show you as much as I can right here because I put it out, and I want to see if I'm able to basically get you to agree that that's what you guys saw as well. I won't add anything extra, but this right here was essentially what.
How's it going, hey, what's going on, bro? How are you? Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is right before it starts. This is the car and this is the SUV. So you're gonna see it in just 1 second.
So the car with the lights on was also involved.
That's the car that the gentleman was in. Like I said, if you're looking at it, hey guys, so in a minute you're about to see it.
Okay.
So I can't tell where he came up from, but you're gonna see the green shoes in a minute.
Okay.
Let me get your elbow over a little bit.
So look at right here. This is the car. The SUV behind it is the SUV. And all those girls are talking in the SUV. And in 1 second, you're going to see the guy get out tussling. It looks like they're in the back tussling or something. But you really
So is that the same video that you guys had?
It's a little hard to see out there, but the allegation was the so-called victim that got shot but survived started the fight. There was issues about who owed who money, and the victim started shooting. He had a pending robbery warrant out of Chicago for him. He did get arrested. So, I mean, it's been 6 years, but yeah, that's essentially there was an argument, and then they say some shooting happened, and then Dirk apparently drove off in his sort of high engine Jeep Grand Cherokee, like a Nighthawk or Trailhawk or whatever they call it.
Trackhawk, yeah. I'll
Trackhawk.
send it to you on your phone real quick. I think that's the unless you're on your phone right now using StreamYard.
No, I'm on the
Computer.
iPad, so I could use my phone.
Okay. So that's the video that I have right there.
Who is that supposed to be talking exactly?
That is the lady who runs security at Varsity and the investigating officer.
Well, there shouldn't be a lady at the Varsity because it's a APD officer that works security there off duty, and I'm the one that talked to him, and I saw all the different angles at the Varsity, and they were pretty blurry. That one looked a little bit more clear, and if we're looking out that would be the wrong angle because the cars were parked in the varsity parking lot.
Right.
So if you're looking out from the varsity parking lot, you'd be looking out into the street. In this case, we were looking towards the varsity is what it looked like from across the street. Uh, there's a nightclub and there's a sort of a chicken wings place that used to be there at the time. And those folks said their video wasn't very useful. But from the varsity side, you'd be looking, if the restaurant's behind you, you'd be looking into the parking lot, then into the street, and then across the street. And so
Right.
that seemed to be the opposite image as far as that goes. But regardless, whatever they want to say it is, uh, the DA's office here is overly aggressive, goes after too much stuff. If there's even this much evidence, they'll charge you with RICO or gang or anything, as you've seen with Young Thug and some of the others, and how they're rumoring to get Little Baby because he shot his video in the wrong part of town or something. So yeah, they had a lot of problems. So I can't speak to that video, but there just isn't evidence there of us shooting.
So there's a whole rumor of, and we said it, but I just want to say it one more time to clear this up for people. Is there the allegation of two individuals shooting at this one person? The video evidence that they claim to have, does that exist? Yay or nay?
No, because otherwise we'd have a case. Because if um, Lil Durk was driving and people in his car were shooting out there, he would be an accessory, and they would have indicted everybody. But nobody got indicted in this case. Unfortunately, King Von died maybe a year or two after this happened. But there were still numerous other people. But we always arrest first and figure things out later here
Right.
in Georgia. It's just the South. It's how it goes. But assume if there would have been something or anybody, I mean, there's dozens and dozens of people out there, right? Nobody could actually testify to any of that stuff, and the cops talk to everybody.
Yeah, I have a video of a guy basically telling the police, "Hey, Key Glock did it."
Yeah.
There's a rapper out of Memphis.
Yeah, so we had a lot of issues going on. We even had the girls that they were with that we, got on the record and stuff like that. It just didn't happen quite the way they said. Yes, there must have been an argument above about some money or some of those kinds of things, but when the person getting shot is wanted for theft and some other things, it just makes it difficult. In Atlanta, the philosophy is the guy that's the best shot gets charged with the crime. Um, so it's kind of dumb, right? I mean, if whoever gets shot, they're the victim, and whoever does the shooting, they're the defendant, and they're the bad guy, and that's just how it works here.
So let me ask you this question. If there's an e-file on October 13th, 2022, and it essentially says state of Georgia, and I'm going to just blindly do this for you because that way they understand like this makes the most sense. And it says, come now, Fonnie T. Willis, District Attorney of Atlanta Judicial Circuit, State of Georgia, and shows this honorable court the following. The facts of this case have been reviewed. Although it appears that probable cause existed for the defendant's arrest, the decision of the district attorney at this time is not to prosecute the above named defendant for charges arising from this case number. The reasons for the decisions are as follows: prosecutorial discretion. That's what happened on 10/13/22. We get another one that says it verbatim, and that one is at 10/17. What could have happened there for the 10/13 one?
What that just basically means is when you say there is probable cause to arrest, that means you got to say that. Otherwise, we could sue them for a wrongful arrest and do a civil 1983 action against the government to say that they were, creating misconduct or intentionally arresting somebody without evidence. So they always say that in every case that we get that ends up being disputed. But clearly, there's not enough evidence. That's why they did it, because prosecutorial discretion in our state is to prosecute, prosecute, prosecute. It's never to let it go unless you don't have much of a case. So they do it that way. And the fact that there's a couple of them, it's just each defendant gets their own. You can't just do a big block and say, we decline. So you'll do an order for each defendant. So on the 13th or whatever day it was, you'll get multiple orders with the different defendants that were remaining saying that. And yeah, it took a little over 2 years to get that, but we got it. So that's all that mattered in the end.
So if the person on the 13th got off first and then the person on the 17th got off first, wouldn't that mean the first person, they basically cleared him, and then the second person, they cleared him?
It just means whatever day they took it to the clerk's office to get it stamped. I don't know which day they did it. The one that mattered to me is our guy, and we pushed to get it done. I'm not sure who Mr. Bennett's attorney was, um,
He
but
had
it all got.
yeah, he had Drew Finley. So
Yeah, so
basically,
Drew could have been busy or whatever, but they got it done. But if they're not both dated or stamped the same day,
yeah.
that's just an oversight because they're not going to dump one and charge somebody else because the risk theirs to the government is the guy that got dismissed will come back and help his friend. So they always overcharge instead of undercharge. So the
Okay.
dates don't matter if one's on the 13th, one's on the 17th, or if they're both the same day, but everybody got dismissed.
Okay, because the 13th one is Vaughn, and then the 17th one is Durk. So they still had for 2 months afterwards. They still had the rapper named Bezu, and then finally he got his charges dropped. Would if there were any form of anything of cooperation, would it show up in his paperwork?
Now, cooperation would never show up, but nobody cooperated because if you're cooperating, then you're not dismissing the co-defendant's charges. It makes no sense. That would be idiotic to say that if that's the rumor going around, because if you cooperate, you make a case because you're snitching.
Right.
That didn't happen. I'm not sure why this is getting all flared up now. I mean, this was all handled 3+ years ago from a case from 6 years ago. I mean, it was unfortunate, but here we are.
So what's alleged is that Vaughn put the shooting. I mean, not Vaughn. Dirk put the shooting on Vaughn. Is there anything logical that you can say for people who are sycophants for conspiracy theories that would kind of be like, you know what, this right here will shut you the hell up?
He never cooperated or said anything like that with regards to Vaughn, period. Because if he would have said that that guy did it, you still assisted by helping them drive away from the scene, and you'd been accessory, and in our state it's called party to a crime, and you'd get charged just as if you were the shooter or the bad guy yourself. So, um, I mean, I was his lawyer from day one out there. We did the preliminary hearing, we did the bond hearing, we got him out, and then we just sort of fought the case administratively, and everything's as slow as molasses in the court system. So it took 2 years, but it all worked out.
I wanted to ask you about this video, if you can, because there's a whole entire narrative that exists where basically everybody is saying this video of Vaughn looking at Durk in the courtroom, that right there is the telltale, like, oh man, this is the moment that he knew that he was telling on him. This video right
Case
here.
against a rapper accused in a shooting outside of the Varsity will move forward. Today, Lil Durk appeared in court where a judge ruled there was enough evidence for him to go to trial. Channel 2's anchor Lori Wilson is live near where the shooting happened, near the Varsity, and Lori police say they have video evidence in this case.
Topeka APD says they used at least 5 cameras from local businesses, including this BP, as well as from the Varsity across the street in order to build their case against Lil Durk and his co-defendant. On Friday, detectives from Atlanta and Chicago testified in the criminal case against rapper Lil Durk in Fulton County Court. They say around 5 in the morning on February 5th, Lil Durk, whose real name is Dirk Derek Banks, and his co-defendant Devontae Bennett were seen on camera involved in shooting Alexander Witherspoon, a person police say they knew.
They were hanging out. They went to a studio to make music.
The rapper and Bennett listened to the evidence against them in court. Police told the judge later that night
That moment right there. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, because in the opening scenes, when you see the guy with the beard sitting next to Dirk, that's me. Then when I'm not there, my associate Nicole was talking to him when I was actually cross-examining the detective. So if you pull the transcripts, there's way more than that out there. But it's a preliminary hearing, right? When you go to do a first appearance in our state, if it's a gang type charge, the magistrate can't give you bond right out of the gate. You eventually get a preliminary hearing within a week or two. We did that, but you can find probable cause on a ham sandwich as far as that goes. It's an incredibly low standard. Did something probably happen when the camera's rolling? Most judges don't have a spine, so they'll just bind it over and say, let the Superior Court deal with it. A couple weeks after that happened, we went to the Superior Court. The judge called BS on some of this, that we're going to have this video and this and that, because the judge asked to see it and they couldn't play it for him. And so we got bond, and that was that. But that the preliminary means nothing. I mean, everybody gets bound over. The preliminary hearing is just to sort of find out what evidence they have, and they gave me enough to make sure I got him out on bond.
So, do you know what was said in that moment between Durk and Vaughn?
When they were talking at the table,
Yeah, because it looked like Durk was looking away, and it looked like Vaughn was saying something to where it seemed disagreeable.
I don't think so. I think one of the things, I mean, I guess I'm tooting my own horn. They would just say that guy's a shark because we were really attacking the folks hard, and they were smiling to me during some of it because things were going so well. But we already knew everything's going to get sent over to Superior Court at a magistrate prelim. It's called a bind over. Everything gets bound over with probable cause. That's you could be indicted for murder without any problems. I'd win the case, but that's how easy it is to get it done.
Because that was the one thing nefarious wise where they were just saying, "Oh man, he figured out that Dirk was going to snitch on him." But I've always said this: like, if you're going to snitch on somebody, you're implicating yourself in there, which means basically you're going to jail.
Yeah, but everybody walked away from the stuff before the $1 billion lawyer took over. The Caucasian lawyer that you saw out there is Scott Smith, who was handling Vaughn's case, and we had a joint defense agreement together. I was
Uh-huh.
going to take care of all the work. They would just sit back and enjoy the benefits of it, and everything went fine. Nobody snitched on anybody, otherwise you wouldn't have dismissals. The point of snitching is to convict people.
Right. And snitches don't go home.
Generally not. I mean, unless you're in the mob or something and you're getting them big people to get, then maybe you could work something out, go in witness protection or something. But no, snitching means, yes, I did it, but I'm going to give you some information so I can get a better deal. That just, I don't know how many times to say you can play all the videos you want. I mean, I was there, I handled the case, I got it dismissed. Nobody testified on anybody.
Are you aware of the video that exists with the TSA agent um uh who looks like your other counsel?
These two officers trying to search me on the plane. They talk about, let me search your bag, all type of shit. Let me get y'all ID one more time before I leave. Alright, I can get y'all ID one more time?
Take a picture of my badge.
Now, y'all want to search me for what? I can get yours, sir? This is real quick. You took a picture of my ID, man.
You already took a picture, man. Keep it moving.
What y'all trying to search me for?
You're blocking the path for
All right.
passengers to get through, so you gotta keep it moving.
Police all on my dick. What's wrong with these people? They talking about to search my bed for some drugs, all type of shit. Hey, matter of fact, look. This man took a picture of my ID, got my address and everything. I don't know this man, you see what I'm saying? You can remember his face. King, ball head up. I don't know what's going on. I got on the plane time out.
I gotta say, it's been like 6 years, so I'm sure we looked at it. But again, none of that stuff mattered. We had a legal basis based on what the officers had said. We had a very long preliminary hearing. And like I said, when we got to Superior Court with the actual trial judge, everything sort of fell apart for the government.
Okay. Because it's one last thing, because I know it's probably going to be super annoying by this point. There was a rumor that a statement was made that said, had King Von not died, they would have been indicted on murder. Have you seen that at all? Or heard
I
of it?
have no idea if that was, I'm sure years ago they would say that, but I don't understand what difference does it make. If you did it with him out of the way, nobody could contradict the government story because he's not alive to say it went this way or that way. It almost would help the government much, but there wouldn't be a murder charge because the guy didn't die. He was just shot in the leg or wherever it was. Because shortly after he got released from the hospital, I know that he had to go deal with his situation in Chicago for his warrants.
Right. And then never to be heard from again, basically.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he just decided to keep a low profile as far as that goes, because hell, he should have been charged for starting this whole thing, based on my understanding of the case.
That says a lot without saying a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's this rumor that exists. I've never seen it or anything. I think it exists on LinkedIn or something like that. And they're essentially the what is said exactly is it says that King Von would have been indicted if he wasn't murdered, essentially.
I mean, I guess you can always say anything you want when the person's not around or the lawyer's not around because the case is gone. So, um, potato, potato, I guess. But everybody else walked away too after a situation. So if there's evidence and it's video, all right, if there's two or three people shooting, then why didn't you charge the other two people as far as that goes? Him going didn't change anything. You see, he was a defendant. If you would have taken the stand and said the other people didn't do it and this is what happened, that hurts the government's case. Like I said, with him no longer with us, it almost helps their narrative, assuming that narrative even existed with evidence. But why do you need any defendants to begin with if you have a video? So whether Vaughn's alive or dead, if the video really shows what they say they shows, or whatever they were trying to say in that first clip that you played, just doesn't make any sense.
So there's somebody who's alleging that they spoke to you. You ever heard of a man named Otf Vonni?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, there we go. Because there's a rumor, and somebody had asked me, like, ask him if he ever spoke to OTF Vonnie dad regarding Lil Durk making a statement against Von on the case. But once again, you're saying he never made a
Well, I
statement.
would never talk to somebody like that because if the case is active, I'd be idiotic and committing malpractice if I'm telling people, "Oh yeah, my guy's snitching." I mean, that's the last thing you want to do because you keep that under wraps, under seal, if that's the case. But again, if you're snitching, you're admitting shooting somebody. You're not walking away from that, not in state court, unless you find the guy that shot Kennedy or something. That will be enough to get you probation, I guess. But none of that stuff happened.
Can you speak to the relationship of Von and Dirk before they were basically barred from hanging out with each other?
Yeah. So every time you get bond, if you're a co-defendant, the standard condition is you can't associate with one another in almost every case that you'll ever see, and you can't contact the victim. That's a given, or any potential witness in the case, and the government will list out who they think the witnesses might be. So the fact that they couldn't hang out, that's just usual. In any indictment, if it's got multiple defendants and you're getting bond, you can't talk to that person, can't associate with them, can't do third-party conversations with them. You also can't see any victims in the case, and you can't see any witnesses. So that's just boilerplate stuff. That it means nothing.
So what about the relationship with King Von and Lil Durk? When they were around each other, did it seem as though they were friendly? Did it seem like they were straight to business? Did it seem that they were disagreeable or irritable? How was the mood between King Von and Lil Durk?
I couldn't even tell you because there's nothing that rose to that occasion to make it memorable. I mean, they're guys. I think they grew up together. They've known each other forever. Um, their position is we didn't do it, and it all eventually worked itself out. They had no reason to be unhappy with one another. Certainly, you wouldn't do that on camera, but the problem with that stuff is if you're in court, we always tell everybody try to keep a stoic face. So somebody for them is going to say, see, he showed no emotion, he's guilty. Or if they start crying, see, he's crying, he's guilty, he's showing his guilt. You can't win. So if you have a conversation with somebody and your eyebrows up and down, oh, they're fighting. Or if he's smiling, oh, they think it's stupid and goofy and they're not taking it seriously. You just
Hmm.
can't win. The two
Right.
men didn't have any issues that I know of or ever knew of. And frankly, Dirk's got much bigger problems now dealing with a murder case out of Los Angeles than dealing with these silly rumors on a case that was dismissed many years ago.
Do you practice federally at all?
Yeah, about a little over half my business is federal. I've tried cases in I think 22 states now, so I get around pretty good. But Dirk's got a really good lawyer out in LA, so hopefully it'll work out for him. The news certainly makes it seem like it's not so good, but we'll see.
Um, One last thing before we let you go here. Are you barred in any other states?
We do what's called a pro hoc in all the other states,
Yeah,
so I don't have to be
Prohaviche?
licensed. Yeah, so it's on a case by case basis. So it's not like I do more than a couple of cases in any other state any given time, so I can just wave in whenever I need to.
What kind of will pique your interest as far as you going pro hack in any other state? Is it the money? Is it the challenge? Is it the innocence? Is it like what convinces you to say, you know what, I'm ready to leave Georgia. I'm ready to go to freaking North Dakota and try my hand here.
Well, being in Georgia, dealing with the same people gets really tiresome. So I really enjoy going to other places with new challenges, meeting new people. We finished up a case in late 2024 in Los Angeles. Might have been the best federal prosecutor I've ever dealt with and the best federal judge on a 40 kilos of meth case with some cartel implications. It all worked out to where the guy got probation, but it's probably the most fair I've ever felt. And then I come back to Fulton County and people aren't always telling you everything or hiding evidence. And so I enjoy traveling. Sure, you'd like to get paid for it. And the innocence, about 80% of our people are going to be straight up guilty. The question's going to be, I'm doing damage control because they always overcharge. And so I just enjoy a different challenge. And frankly, being in Atlanta, the people, a lot of true believers just get on your nerves. At some point as a lawyer, you should be able to argue all sides just because you're a lawyer. But people make it so personal, or they think it's their calling, and then the ends justify the means, and they can do whatever. Now, there's plenty of bad defense lawyers that are shady too, but I try to be above it all. Right, 20 years in the military as a lawyer. I was a DA in private practice. I frankly do it because it pays a hell of a lot better. And being a DA is a dead end job unless you have that quote calling. Um,
You can get elected and say the same thing that your mentor did, and then you're accused of the same things. But eh, eh, eh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something I enjoy being a lawyer. And, the challenge is do it this way. If somebody called me and said, hey, I want you to be a special prosecutor on something, I'd probably do it. But just play by the rules. And if you got a case, you got a case. I mean, the chances are if you've got a case and everybody plays by the rules, you're going to get a conviction. The
So
problem is the DA mixes it all up and, people are walking. I mean, heck, after you saw the YSL case here, what a fiasco.
yeah, they used a lot of manipulation tactics. 'Cause I used to go up there, and Bonnie had told uh, Jeffrey's father that I worked for her, and I was just like, "Have y'all not seen the videos I did about her?" Yeah,
And the same thing happened in the Trump case. It should have been a straightforward case, but we were defending the lawyer, in the Trump case, and it all worked out. It was crazy with all the puffery and overselling and the going to the press and going all over the country bragging about how you got him. And you didn't. It would have been a straightforward case had they done it. But, we've had mistake after mistake and overhype. It's just like your ego gets so big that a lot of the people that may deserve, quote, justice don't get it because you're just overdoing everything. And now if they are going to indict little baby, which they're talking about, it's just crazy. The man shot a video and they say in the wrong neighborhood, therefore it's gang related and everything else. I mean, it's just everything in Atlanta. If you're coming here, don't have a tattoo, don't do any of those things because everything's gang related and everything's RICO because they're the easiest ways to get convictions because you play on people's prejudices as soon as you say those words.
yeah. She I remember her doing that against Paul Howard with with the guy. I think he went to like Howard, and the girl went to Spelman, and the police had broke the windows out, and or
Yeah.
something of that nature.
Right. But then, you don't want to upset the police people because that's a good voting constituency and it keeps the white people happy. So, I mean, at some point, if you're going to be the prosecutor, then do it. It's all hypocritical, right? I mean, we're going after more African Americans now and everything's gang related. If somebody's committed a murder, maybe you just committed a murder. It doesn't have to be gang related. Because if the evidence on a murder is weak, as soon as you say the G word, everybody freaks out, right?
Right.
Um, and it works. So I can't fault them for doing it, but it's just unpleasant because I mean you can indict a ham sandwich like I keep saying if it had a little
She said that
tattoo
actual
that's
phrase before.
yeah, well that's the running joke in the legal profession. That's all we're taught. I mean, I've had cases where DAs are dropping charges before trial and I'm like, how do you get indicted for something like this? But like I said, the grand jurors aren't listening so much. I mean, they're doing close to 80 cases a day when the grand jury, at least in Fulton County, meets. They meet 2 to 3 times a week. And when I was a DA, the goal used to be, can you indict 100 cases in one day? So you tell me how much work's gone through. You walk in there, you read the indictment, the investigator comes in, reads from a sheet, you leave within a minute and a half, bell goes ding, indicted. Next case, so you go back in and do the next one. And so that's generally how it works.
So you were a DA for what county?
Fulton County, same where Miss Willis is now.
Under the Paul Howard administration?
Yeah, I started right after he got elected
Ah,
back in '98.
okay. Yeah, you got some skin in the game. Um, there's a rumor that you have a very big case and it seems very favorable towards you. Is that true or untrue?
Well, to me, it's true because after the motions hearings, we'd filed 16 or 17 motions. We had 3 days of hearings, 3 full days of very contentious hearings. And, we had some good success on there. And so I'm hoping it all works itself out. But because the lawyers aren't high profile, the cases are, because, there's some publicity to it. You just are afraid sometimes that jurors, when they see the cameras, even though they're not on screen, they just they're generally going to indict. That's why I'm not a big fan of publicity for cases. If we could do it in a pure vacuum where they just hear the evidence, there's no outside pressure or noise, to me, it'd be better. But I have a full expectation of getting a not guilty in this case. But, I've been wrong in the past, and cases I thought I was going to lose, we win. So you just never know.
Understood. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. I know you got a big case. We won't say what the case is, but it's a very big case that's gonna happen. And I know you can't say anything except basically it's looking good, and we'll just leave it right there. Are there any other things you want to say to shut people the hell up as far as Von being told on by Lil Durk, or anything that you want to just make sure everybody can just shut the hell up finally?
I mean, if they're saying that there was some cooperation with the government that just didn't happen, I don't know how I can make anybody shut up. I mean, being there, handling the case, getting it dismissed, I'm just telling you it didn't happen. And frankly, I'm a bit surprised with Dirk facing such bigger problems that this thing from 2019 is becoming a story again. It's odd to me.
Yeah, because the rumor is that somebody spoke to you and essentially you said, "Yeah, well, let me make sure I have it right." It say that you spoke to somebody named Otf Vonni, his dad, and then basically saying that he made a statement against Von in the case, and I'm just like, that would get him disbarred for sure, because isn't that attorney-client privilege?
Yeah, it's attorney-client privilege, but if we did it with the government, then maybe it's not a privilege, but at the same time, it gets your client hurt. If that's a problem too, if you're telling everybody, oh, by the way, he's snitching, that's not a good look for the lawyers. And you just don't do that, because then the government would get mad at you because they got to keep that under wraps and save it until trial. So, um, yeah, I don't know who that person is, and I don't talk to strangers, and I try to be very careful with my words. And after 30 something years with the Pac-Man Joneses and all the other athletes and rappers of the world that we've represented over the years, yeah, I mean, most of the stuff you'll probably never hear of unless you really dig, because we try to keep a low profile. We don't have Facebook and Instagram and all that. A couple of lawyers in my office, post stuff here and there, but you'll rarely ever see me post anything except maybe now and again on LinkedIn. So our clients don't want to be publicized, and we pride ourselves on keeping their privacy and keeping their cases out of the news if we can. Whereas some of the other more successful lawyers from Atlanta that you've heard of, um, they have a different tactic. I would prefer you never ever hear to me. You just said he had some great lawyer that beat everybody. That's what we go for, and it keeps them out of the news.
Because you were a lawyer for Gucci Mane, weren't you?
Yeah, before he became famous, he was just a struggling rapper here at the Big Cat Records when they called me for his murder case in a county just outside Atlanta. And we beat the murder case. Then he got signed by Atlantic Records. And then for some reason, he put that ice cream cone on his face. I'm not sure why. And then he got huge, and he's got, other lawyers. But most of the people that are somebody from the Atlanta area we represented before they hit it big when they had really big problems. And I just don't do that day to day smaller stuff or get photos with people and things like that. I just don't need that. I work hard on the cases, and I try to stay out of the spotlight.
Is the pricing fair, or are you like, I know my worth and I'm up a little bit? I'm in the upper echelon.
No, I'm not at that level. I used to work at a law firm, and I left that because we try to price people as to what they can afford, and we do a fair amount of pro bono work too for folks. And you just want to help folks. I mean, I've got a good life. I don't need a private jet or a helicopter or any of that craziness, and I don't need to fly around first class. If I get Comfort Plus, I'm good. And I just enjoy helping some folks, especially if they're being overcharged or wrongly charged. So, yeah, the money's the money, right? I've got a nice car, decent house, kids are grown, so I got no problems.
Who's your alma mater, if I may ask?
Undergrad was Georgia Tech. I was a nuclear engineer there, and then I went to law school at Georgia State and got my
And
JD there.
you were born in Georgia, so Georgia through
No, I
and
was
through.
born in India, and we migrated to Georgia back in 1978.
Oh snap! All right, which you don't have an accent or anything.
I went to Catholic school when I was growing up, so
Shit.
um, nuns beat it out of you if you had an accent when you were talking. So I don't sound like Mr. Apu from The Simpsons, with the blueberry squishy and all that stuff. So for your older viewers, maybe they'll know what that is in The Simpsons. So.
There's a thing that existed that said that you guys actually hated that character. Is that true?
I'm sorry, you said hated what?
Hated the character of Pooh. Is that true?
I'm sure some people did, but you gotta have a sense of humor about it. I mean, the accent does sound like that, and that's just the way it is. I mean, in America, we mock things that are sort of unknown, this or that. I mean, I could say, "Hey, do you appreciate how they portray black people and stuff like that, or Middle Easterners or Jews or anything?" I mean, you just gotta have a sense of humor about it and sort of know your audience and understand the context. It wasn't mean spirited. It's just if you go into a convenience store back then, they're doing it. I mean, most of the guys are fresh off the boat and they have the accents. And so you roll with it. Getting mad, what's it going to do? It's a free country, right?
Yeah. Did it ever bother you, or did you know as a white guy that was voicing him the whole entire time?
Um, I
Could
wasn't
you
sure if it
tell?
was Angus. I'm not sure who it was, but I mean, growing up when we got here when I was younger, we lived in Iowa and people would call you sand N-word or camel jockey, all that kind of stuff. You learn to have a thick skin and not let shit you can't control bother you.
Iowa. Where'd you go? Davenport, Cedar Rapids?
That wasn't far, but we were in Oskaloosa. Cedar Rapids was the closest big town, about 45 minutes north of us. First mall in the state was in Cedar Rapids. So Oskaloosa is like dead center of Iowa.
Oh, snap. So you were like between the 80 and 35, essentially?
We were off of I-80, yeah.
I'm
It's,
very familiar with Iowa.
yeah, so you'd go to Des Moines to get pies at Poppin' Fresh Pies. That was our thing. Or you'd go north to Cedar Rapids if you wanted to go to the mall. And we were just in the middle of nowhere, a very small town where Kmart was the big store.
Shit, it still might be. Nah, they got like a big old plant in the middle of Cedar Rapids. But yeah, I ain't been to Des Moines and none of that stuff in a while. I ain't going though, because it's about to start snowing in a couple of months. So hell nah.
I'm sure.
Well, all right, man. I appreciate it. We'll get this done as soon as possible. And sure, I'm gonna add some edits in there as far as the freaking videos go. But yeah, it's a pleasure having you. Once you win that case, hopefully you come back on with your client. If not, then I know he's probably gonna want to go do some huge interviews at a couple of spaces and places. Whoever I can connect you guys with, I 100%
We'll be
will.
fine. We're not too big for anybody. So the good news is hopefully we'll win and then we can have this. Otherwise, it's that or a life sentence. There's no middle ground here.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, shoot, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Hello, friends. Let me make sure I put this. Notice to all content creators and platforms, all content posted on this page/channel is my original work and protected under United States copyright laws. Reproduction, re-uploading, or use of my videos, audio, or images without my express written consent is strictly prohibited. We're talking YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, or any social media platform. Violators will be subject to copyright strikes, takedown notice, and potential legal action. Basically, if I don't know you, I'm going to hold you. Do not come and use my content unless you reach out or you personally know me and we have a very good understanding, because don't steal my content. Everything you see here is mine. I made it. I own it. If you repost it, clip it, or use my work without asking, probably gonna file a copyright claim on you and have it removed. Don't risk your page over someone else's grind. Sounds good? Thank you.